Welcome back. Today we are talking with John Luizzi about executive support and buy-in. John, great first segment, lots of good information in there. I do have a question for you with regards to people that prior to COVID or just as COVID hit were kind of let go, and now it's happening again. We brought people back in to do our business continuity and resilience programs. And now executives seem to already be forgetting about COVID and letting people go again. So why does that keep happening? There just seems to be this wave.
Well, at the beginning of COVID, and this was really, upsetting for me to see that there were so many people in the industry that had lost their jobs at the beginning of COVID, and I attribute that to something very basic about the fact is that they or their programs were not perceived as being able as leaders for that type of situation, right?
Mm.
Associated with being able to say, hey, we have this pandemic here, but it was never thought of that, hey, this is a business continuity issue, and we need to we need to focus our efforts on business continuity. So I'll give you the exact thing that happened to me for COVID. When COVID, I'll never forget where I was standing, and my boss said it to me, and he said, John, he says, and this was in March of 2020. He said, okay, John, we got this. COVID got you. You have it. Tell me what you need to be successful with this. This company now works for you. What do you need associated with being able to get us through this situation? There was never a doubt that business continuity was going to run that program associated with that. It was always, okay, this is a business continuity issue. This is your shoulders, John. Tell me what you need to be successful with this. And for the next 750 straight days, executive support aligned completely around being able to manage this as a business continuity issue. It didn't become an HR issue. It didn't become a safety issue. It became a business continuity issue. Yes, they were part of that program. They were part of the execution of that. But the program for COVID incident response was clearly led by business continuity. And there was never a doubt about that. So now you get into COVID now, and then companies realize, oh my gosh, we really need someone to manage this situation, right? And as a result, a lot of business continuity professionals were hired during that time period, right? And they were hired probably at a higher dollar amount associated with that because there was this bubble associated with the fact that companies were desperate to bring in people to try to help them manage through this business interruption process situation, right? And then what happened after that, when COVID started to wind down, a lot of those people unfortunately lost their jobs. And there was a good reason for that because they weren't able to demonstrate the value. The fact is that COVID was a huge opportunity for business continuity professionals to really shine and really be able to take their programs to the next level and being able to leverage that type of situation. I mean, we need, as continuity professionals, we need to leverage any type of situation like that's a worldwide pandemic that affected everybody, that affected your work, your home, everything that our lives were changed by that. And if our programs are still in the same place they were before COVID, that's a problem because you should have been able to use that opportunity of that event to be able to launch your program to the next generation. And because of the fact that that was a central business continuity issue. And as a result, a lot of those people that kind of got hired associated with that at that bubble, they lost their opportunity because what happened is that they became expendable because they really didn't leverage that. And companies went back to kind of sort of thinking where they were before. And it's like, hey, do I really need this person and that type of thing? And those people that were hired during that time period had a great opportunity to be able to kind of demonstrate and take charge and be able to run these programs, being able to demonstrate value. And unfortunately, they didn't be able to do that. And as a result, a lot of them lost their opportunities, which was very, very sad. I mean, I talked to a number of them because I'm actually looking to hire some folks here for my program. But it's really kind of a sad story. But the whole idea is that, for us, from a lessons learned perspective, when there's an opportunity or there's an event that occurs, we need to be able to take advantage and show our value. That could be September 11th. That could be the banking crisis that happened back in the late 2008, 2009. That could be COVID. That could be anything that happens to us in our individual companies. I've had in our organization, I've had a tornado hit one of my facilities that had to respond to that type of a situation, right? Back in 2017, I had 4 hurricanes, an active shooter, and a wildfire situation happened in a 6-week period.
Wow.
So all of those things are situations that we need to be able to leverage to be able to try to build and execute our programs off of to demonstrate our value. So
Um, so I was also thinking there, as you were talking, when people were let go too, and when COVID even started, a lot of organizations fought for who was in control of managing COVID as well. And business continuity, it seemed, because it doesn't have a proper home, it seems to be somewhere different in many organizations.
right,
People like HR would take over, or because there was so much IT change, IT started to manage it. And I know a few people that started to do it.
sure, right.
Um, could that have been part of the reason? Because we don't have an established proper home, or we have different things going on in business continuity. You know, one size does not fit all, but
Well,
yet setting up a server or responding to a server incident is the same wherever you go. So it gets hard to understand where we fit in.
the whole idea, especially for COVID, was that the decision to lead a program in this particular situation can't be made on the game day when it happens, right?
Yeah,
All the work leading up to the fact that this organization recognized the fact that this became a business continuity issue. All that homework was done years before. So as soon as that event occurred, it was clear where this was going to fall. So that understanding the responsibilities of the program and the capabilities of the program and what value it delivered to the organization, it was an easy decision for my boss to say, "Okay, John, this is yours. You run with it." Right.
yeah,
So it's not just something that you can rely upon or should be made. It's all that pre-planning. It's all that work. It's all that foundational work that you've done. In the time period prior to that event occurring, which makes it the obvious choice, the obvious place. Yes, this is squarely a business continuity issue. So now, let's support that program as far as going, managing this particular event. So that's the way it has to be. As far as finding a home, I mean, different organizations, see risk management in different lenses associated with
mhm,
that. So I've seen it in different places. I've seen it in IT, as you know. I've seen it in the CFO's office associated with that. There's been direct reports to the CFO, CEO associated with that. So I mean, every organization, designs their org chart and org structure associated with what works for them. But the idea is that no matter where you're placed, it doesn't change what you have to deliver from a value proposition,
right,
right? And
right,
and so you still have the same fundamental things that you're trying to get accomplished because it's not about where you report to. It's really about what value you're delivering and being staying true to that, associated with that, and staying true to what the mission of the continuity program is. So,
right. So let's change gears a little bit. We've talked a lot about us showing value and uh, for paraphrasing everything, pushing information out and getting people to understand our value. How do we incorporate executives into our program so that they are trained? There are some things, and I'm kind of experiencing it right now with a client, that we need our employees to do this. We need our employees to know this and know how to do that and figure this out and have the ability to do that. And then I asked the question, well, what are you guys doing? Like, to the executives, I said, do you know what you're doing? So how do you bring them into it? Because you can't assume that just because you're the president, Jane, that doesn't mean you know what you need to do.
right. I mean, bringing them into, I mean, exercises is kind of like the easiest way of doing that, and being able to make sure that you schedule, meaningful exercises with your leadership teams. And one of the things that I've seen with a lot of continuity professionals, they'll try to schedule an exercise and they'll do this for like 6 months. I mean, I could put on a Broadway
Mm.
play in less amount of time, right? So the idea is that what we do, we have these things called rapid fire exercises. And what they basically are is just kind of, hey, let's sit there, let's have lunch, let's bring in some sandwiches, and for an hour, we're just going to throw some scenarios on the table. Let's talk through it. Let's see what we would do. I mean, and folks love it. They love because it's kind of a short-term thing. It's kind of a fun type of a thing, but yet it's a learning experience. And one of the things that business continuity professionals need to learn is the fact is that everything that they do is a learning opportunity to present you, whether it's leadership or any other person that you're working with in your organization. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of every single interaction to be able to try to teach somebody something about your program, right? So, we spent a lot of time on being able to send out information. Like I said, I did the hurricane, the preparedness briefing for all the executives in the entire organization. Beautiful PowerPoint presentation, talk to about it and those type of things. Those are the things that you want to keep fresh in their mind. But essentially, you're always trying to seek those teaching moments and being able to provide information that they news that they could use, right, associated with that, as well as going back to what I was telling you about before about when stuff happens in the world and being able to take advantage of that. And hey, what would we do? What would we do? I mean, that's a training exercise, believe it or not. That's actually for me to say, okay, well, this warehouse had this situation, they were out of production or anything else like that. They get hit by a tornado. What did they do? Okay, that's a learning exercise for me to be able to kind of opportunity to say to them, hey, this is what we would do. And we need to take advantage of all of those things. They're all around us. And every day stuff's happening in the world. And we have more opportunity to be able to to see that information now, more visibility than it's ever been before, right? With the
Hmm.
with the availability of news and information. So us being able to, take advantage of even the littlest thing just to try to use that as a teaching moment is another way to engage people in the program. But it also helps you try to train, hey, what our protocols would be given this situation would occur to us. So,
I remember an instance years ago. We had a senior vice president in technology. We had him kick off the actual exercise that we had planned and organized. And he goes, well, why do you need me to do it? And so, because in your own plan, your own expectations that you said, you would be the one declaring the disaster. So we gave him an ID to the notification application. We taught him how to use it. And he said, okay, he just told a couple of us somewhere between, I forget what it is now, but I'll just say 11 and 1. I'm going to send this note out now that he knew how to do it. He goes, is that okay? And we said, yeah, sure. And when it went out, people were just, is this real? Is this what? Wow, and he was thrilled. He goes, this is fun. I like this, So when we did it the next year, he goes, I'm sending out messages and do stuff. He wanted to get more involved because even though we're having disasters and we're simulating disasters, he was enjoying it. He felt he was learning and being a part of that.
I mean, for me, the way with the executives is the fact is that, you know, I try to prepare them for that moment, associate that because, you know, obviously in a major situation, the spotlight is on the suite, the executive
Mhm.
leadership team about what we need to do associated with that in that situation. What decisions do we need to make? And, so me in my role, I spent a lot of started trying to sit on the other side of the table. What does that person need to hear from me that I can help so I can help them through that situation? So when you look at like the plans that I develop and I write and things like that with my team, it's very much about not me sitting here as a business continuity professional. It's about me sitting on the other side of the table. What do I need to execute my business? And
Yeah.
you have to kind of take yourself out of your role and sit on the other side of the table and kind of strip away everything you know about business continuity and say, okay, I'm the business person responsible for operations of one of our warehouses. What do I need to succeed? How do I need to get to? What do I need? What information? What planning do I need in place to be able to do that? And that's an important part of our role is to be able to kind of step outside of what we know from business continuity because we bring a whole bunch of assumptions with us, right? And what we want to do is be able to kind of be the business person there and live that life and understand exactly how the plan should actually be executed based off of what their perspective is.
Well, you bring up an interesting point there about assumptions. Assumptions are everywhere on every side, regardless of what part of the table you're at. How do you go about identifying those so that you can get everybody to understand the value of business continuity, get everyone's support, the buy-in, and get everyone on the same page? Because you and I could work together, and I'm assuming you're doing a simple task. You're assuming I'm doing it, but we never know.
Right. it's essentially being able to kind of make sure that, when you develop any type of plan or any type of thing, that you kind of essentially make sure everybody's roles and responsibilities are very clear. So again, in our program, we spend a lot of time. If you look at any of my plans, you will see that, we divide our plans into phases of an event occurs, right? So like a hurricane for us occurs in 6 different phases, right? So I live in Florida, so it's obviously a planned event, right? But it goes from, preparation, activation, monitoring, activation, preparation, response, recovery, and resumption, right? So throwing out all those phases, every single part of the organization, what does HR have to do? What does operations have to do? So it's very, very clearly articulated. So there isn't any what I would call who's assuming anybody's doing what. It's very clearly articulated, associated with what, and this way when we do exercises, everybody can ask those questions associated with that. Hey, who's doing this? Who's doing this? I mean, we make sure that we update our plans with that. But the idea is that the very, very, clarity amongst roles and responsibility is a really big part of making sure that you can minimize your assumptions about who's doing what, so you make sure that there's no gaps associated with your response plans.
I guess having that all clarified too, as part of your messaging to executives, is we we are proactively identifying gaps. We are assigning all these roles and responsibilities, and I'm not just saying John is doing this, but I'm actually conversing with John, and John's clarifying exactly what that role is as well. Like it's give and take, it's collaboration to really build and understand that. So that builds confidence within executives, correct?
Right. So again, this goes back to my comment about the village, right? So
Mhm.
this is another part of me engaging with my village associated, being able to make sure not only are we developing, our plans, but they understand what their swim lane is, what their role and responsibility is given this type of situation, this type of circumstances, and then understanding from them, hey, what else do you need from HR? What else do you need from operations to be able to make sure you're successful? So it's that engagement, that dialogue that helps not only, make sure you have more effective and integrated plans, but it also creates ambassadors for your program because now more people are talking to each other.
I was going to ask you, what are some tips we could start doing? But I think you've covered quite a few of them and some good things, and I hope people have been listening. So I'm going to ask you a different question. What are the things we should stop doing if we
Uh,
want support and buy-in?
again, it goes back to that, where we were, back to the old September 11th days, where we're still very much an administrative role, and a lot of business continuity people are thought of as administrative, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
And it's very much around compliance. It's around checking a box. It's about, hey, fill out this template and get it back to me. Um, they're collecting data. They're not interpreting the data. I mean, it's those are the things that are, when you look at, how programs are, in some way, shape, or form, they're still kind of antiquated in their execution associated with that, and that doesn't really represent what, the way programs need to be executed now. We're just in a different world now, and again, programs need to be based off of, first of all, they need to demonstrate progress, and a lot of programs don't have an agenda. They don't even have a roadmap or a timeline, because one of the things that when I talk to leaders in other companies as well, it's like, John, I just don't know where the program is. I know I got a program. I just have no idea what progress, what maturity, what we can handle, what our tolerance is associated with that. So there needs to be what I would call a better communication of understanding as far as here where we are in this continuum associated with continuity and maturity, right? If you look at the way our plans are developed here, we have a maturity scale from 1 to 10. I can tell you exactly where any individual plan is based on a maturity scale of 1 to 10. That's from day of inception all the way up to the point where that becomes an operational part of our organization. And it's actually what do we call institutional. In other words, if something is institutional, that means it's in our DNA. That's like the ultimate goal for us, right? Associated
Yeah.
with what we try to develop, right? So, it's those type of things. It's also making sure that, plans are up to date and accurate. I mean, it sounds so fundamental, but nothing will turn off a bunch of executives if you show up in a plan or a meeting, and the phone numbers are wrong, or the points of contact, or this person doesn't work here anymore, or we don't do that anymore, or we don't have that system anymore. Nothing turns people off more than inaccurate plans. And guess what? It's our responsibility to make sure that those things are accurate. That responsibility falls upon us at the end of the day, right? Making things simplified and executable. You can have, the days of 100 page plan for something are over. Associated with that 100 pages that nobody's going to read it. The idea is that you want to try to make them readable, actionable. If you look at my plan, they're all color coded. I got all kinds of icons, so the HR person knows exactly. He just goes to the color pink and he sees his icon. He knows exactly what he has to do. He doesn't have to read through everything else. He can figure out exactly just by looking at the pink sections. That's an HR section.
Yeah.
My blue section, my navy blue section, that's good. That's my IT section. So it's things like that that can be very engaging. What I find executives love is eye candy. So when you design your plans, your reports, your presentations, eye candy is a big thing associated with being able to get engagement for your program, right? It's also having plans in a central place, centralized management. It's also, hey, we live in a mobile world now. So can I get at that information on my phone? I'm not sitting at my desk all day long. So if I had to respond to a situation, be aware of something, can you communicate to me what's going on associated with that event using my mobile device? So being able to leverage technology is another big part of being able to, have your program adapted and being able to be yourself. And then again, making sure that you're in the situational awareness. I mean, we have to be able to be the person uh, associated with being able to make sure, or we've got their back and we're aware of such situations that are happening, because we need to be proactive about the fact is that, hey, something just happened. What do I need to start doing so I can communicate that to my executives? They have that expectations associated with our role and responsibility. So it's funny. There's a whole bunch of business continuity people out there that say, well, if I don't know about it, I don't have to do anything about it.
Hmm.
And if that's their mantra, I would say go get another job, to be honest with you, because that you're not cut out for what we're trying to do here. And no wonder why you're not getting executive support.
Yeah.
There you go.
We
So,
have 2 minutes left. Do you want to take 1 minute for any final thought or comment you'd like to convey that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
well, I think that business continuity. If you're not passionate about this, you're in the wrong role. You're in the wrong position. I mean, you have to really be absolutely passionate about what we do. And the idea is that you want to make sure you define what your goals are for executive support. It's not something that you just get because you have to earn it every single day. Even though I have great executive support, I have to work through that every single day and keep my folks engaged associated with that. Again, role play. How, if you're the executives, how would you want it to present the program to be presented to you? Sit on the other side of the table. I think that's a really, really important thing for business continuity folks to do. Take advantage of every opportunity to learn the business, learn the metrics of the business, the dynamics of the business. Build a technology platform. You got to have technology in this day and age. You have to be able to kind of automate your processes. The days of managing business continuity on Word and Excel are gone. So you need to be able to look at tools and technologies that can help you automate your program, because there's just too many things. There's too many risks. There's too many interdependencies. Our business is more complex than ever been before. So as a result, you need tools and technology to help you be able to manage through that complexity, right? Make sure you define, engage your village. Who are those people that are part of your circle, your inner circle associated with that, who are your trusted business partners that can help you execute program, but not only that, become an ambassador for your program, right? um, Establish meaningful metrics. Hey, talk to your executives about what essentially drives them, how do they perceive value your program, and then design metrics around that so you can try to help show that progress associated with your program.
Yeah.
Simplify your approach, associated with your plans and things like that. Leverage events. When you see events that occur out in the world, being able to kind of take those and kind of do like a what would we do if those situations. And then the other thing is just, you have, like, you're sitting in the best chair in the organization, have the ability to purview to look at the entire business, all the processes of the organization. So take advantage of that view and be able to kind of leverage it to be able to kind of help and promote your program. So.
John, great chatting with you. I hope people really paid attention to some of the things that you conveyed with us today. I think there's some secret nuggets in there that everyone can take away and make that challenge of trying to get that support and buy-in. They can make it. I think they can do it if they really focus and put into practice some of the things that you told us about today.
I appreciate it, Alex. Thank you
So
very
thank
much
you
for
very
inviting me.
much.
Absolutely. I hope you have me back there in the future. We could talk about some other topics as well. So yeah, look forward to it.
Be careful, because I will take you up on that.
You are. It's a pleasure for me to support you any day, anytime. Let me know.
Well, great having you here, John. Thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us today. I do greatly appreciate it. And everybody watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.